But the Dolphins started something in the second quarter with this 20-yard pass from Bob Greasy to Duriel Harris, who carried it to Buffalo's 19-yard line. That set up Garo Yepremian's 32-yard field goal 4 plays later on 4th down that put Miami in front 3-0. That score stood until the third quarter when Curtis Johnson intercepted a Joe Ferguson pass, and that was on the Miami 37. After a 12-yard loss, Greasy threw deep for Freddie Solomon. Interference by Mr. Mario Clark set the Dolphins up at Buffalo's 39. And they were arguing about this for a minute, and the referee obviously agreed. On 3rd down, Greasy fired a pass to Nat Moore for 10 yards down to the 28. Greasy was 9 for 19 on the day. Miami got it to the 19-yard line, where on 4th and 1, Garo drilled another field goal from 37 yards out for a 6-0 Dolphin advantage. On the ensuing kickoff, Garo booted it down to Charlie Romes. He fiddled around with the ball, finally grabbed it and headed upfield. Don Nottingham clobbered him, forcing a fumble that Norris Thomas recovered on the Bills' 20-yard line. Then on the very next play, Norm Brulash got the call. He ran through a big hole on the right side all the way for a touchdown. That made it 13-0. The Bills threatened a couple of times after that, but Miami's revamped defense kept O.J. and his cohorts securely in check, as they had done all day.
Well, anytime he gets a shutout, and especially against a good potential offensive football team, they didn't play that well today. They had a lot of fumbles. They left the ball on the ground. We recovered 3 or 4 fumbles and had 1 interception. But, you know, this says something for our defense, too. But we just felt that O.J. was going to be a much tougher test than the test that we had last week when we played the Giants and weren't able to contain them. But we did the job today on O.J., and our defense was a swarming type of defense, the kind that we're trying to get established. And we had a good containment. We had some pressure on the passer at times, and we kept taking the ball away and giving our offensive ball with pretty good field position.
2 minutes left to play. Goldstein's got it, and there he is, wide open, touchdown! Gary Shirk took it for the touchdown. Perfect execution, bootlegged out there by Goldstein.
And I'm sure the play was called from the sideline. Boy, the NFL at its best right here on CBS. Stick around, folks. Remember, we could go into sudden death.
2nd and 10. Redskins at their own 20.
We couldn't have had a better opening game for us, could we, Linz?
Fumble. Giants have recovered. It's Harry Carson.
I think it was 77. Troy Archer.
Harry Carson on the ball.
Harry Carson got the football, but Troy Archer, I think, got his hand in there on the quick handoff to Mike Thomas. Let's watch it. Here's Kilmer, quick trap. He hands off to Mike Thomas, and there it is. Troy Archer, number 77, caused that fumble. Harry Carson got it back for New York, and they've got a shot to put it away here.
1 minute, 48 seconds left. The score is tied 17-17. The Giants have the ball inside the 20-yard line of the Redskins. Score is tied 17-17. 7 seconds left to play on opening day. The Redskins and the Giants, one of the storied rivalries in the annals of professional football. Sellout crowd of more than 76,000 fans on hand. Now here come the Giants. Mallory at the 20-yard line. It'll be 30-yard attempt. Donello will attempt it. Sidewinder. It's up. Good. It's good. It is good. A 30-yard field goal, and the Giants go ahead. 3 seconds on the clock. The Giants 20 and the Redskins 17.
As soon as he hit the field goal, Larry Mallory, who held for it, got up and hugged Joe Donello. The whole Giant bench is erupted. They're on the field congratulating Joe Donello. With 3 seconds left, it looks like the Giants have won the opener.
This stadium is a bedlam here. The Giant fans are on their feet because they saw a lead disappear. They saw the Redskins take the lead, and in other years they've seen that all too often. But they've seen the new Giants come back and regain the lead here this afternoon. And the Giants have won the opener by a score of 20-17.
Oh, Johnny McVay, there he is in the middle of your screen. He's so happy. He's forgotten. George Allen is walking over to shake hands, but he's so ecstatic right now, I think he's forgotten. He's on his way to the dressing room. Oh, what a game for the Giants.
As McVay in front of the troops as they head for the tunnel.
Nobody has left this ballpark yet.
They're all still here, and George Allen has sustained his first defeat ever as a head coach on opening day, talking to Kenny Houston as they walk off.
Probably talking about that pass that was deflected into the hands of Ed Marshall. Could have been an interception. Houston just keeps shaking his head. He hit his left hand, and Ed Marshall caught it one-handed and got it inside the 10 where they scored the next play.
It was a beautiful bootleg pass from Goldstein to Shirk that scored the touchdown.
Well, Namath is gone. Maybe Jerry Goldstein has arrived in this city.
Well, in his first National Football League game ever, he came out a winner in a closely contested game. Hallelujah, says the message board at Giant Stadium. So the final score here this afternoon in the season's opener, Giants 20 and the Redskins 17. Well, when the Giants meet the Redskins, and especially on opening day, there usually has been excitement, and Paul Horning, we had plenty of it this afternoon.
We sure did. It was a great football game. Joe Donello, with pressure right on his shoulders, kicked it through from 30 yards out in the last 10 seconds to win it. Atlanta 17, Los Angeles 6, a big upset in the fourth quarter. It's in the making. Philadelphia 2 touchdown passes. Ron Jaworski over Tampa Bay 13-3.
Cleveland 13 and Cincinnati 3, and that is a final as the Cleveland Browns upset the Bengals. And New England in the fourth quarter is leading Kansas City by a score of 21-17.
New England 21, Kansas City 17, fourth quarter. Lindsay gave you that one.
And right here, of course, George Allen has now lost a season opener. He had 11 consecutive years in which he won on opening day. A crowd of more than 76,000 fans here at Giant Stadium saw a tremendous opening day football game.
We're at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota, and welcome to season number 58. I'm Pat Summerall with Tom Brookshire. I can't think of a better place to start it than the Cowboys against the Vikings. Can you, Tom?
Sort of a playoff game, whether it's the first one or the last one with these two teams. No doubt about it.
You look at these two ball clubs, Minnesota and Dallas, and they're young. They have rebuilt, but yet while they're rebuilding, they've managed to stay on top.
Well, and the all-stats quarterback, Fran Tarkington, does not play well against Dallas. I think he's 5-9 lifetime. But listen, Seaman, Blair, and McNeil are good linebackers with speed. Dallas is going to have to figure that out. They go to the three-man front once in a while, too, Pat.
What do you know of the situation of last year's Heisman Trophy winner, Tony Dorsett, in Dallas?
I think Preston Pearson on the experience factor will start, and then we'll see Tony Dorsett very quickly. He could break out in a rash, as they say.
Next Saturday at 4:30 p.m., CBS Sports Spectacular presents live the Trenton 150 from the Trenton International Speedway with Mario Andretti, Tom Sneva, and more racing for the title. That's the Trenton 150 live next Saturday at 4:30 p.m. on the CBS Sports Spectacular.
A lot going on, and right now St. Louis and Denver are scoreless in the second quarter. Houston has scored against the New York Jets. They lead 7-0. Phyllis, get us up to date with all the baseball races still left and also that America's Cup race.
Great. Reggie Jackson and Dave Kingman homered for the New York Yankees today as they defeated Detroit 6-5. And Brent, of course, will have those highlights of that game in just a moment. Baltimore held a day for Brooks Robinson, but they trailed the Boston Red Sox in the 6th inning 6-4. A Baltimore defeat would place them 3.5 games behind the Yankees. In the other races, the Phillies lost to St. Louis. Their magic number staying at 5 in the National League East. The Dodgers, just starting, have a magic number of 2 over the Reds in the National League West, and Kansas City, who just won today, knocked their magic number to 4 in the American League West. Now in Davis Cup play today, both Australia and Italy advanced to the finals, and of course Ted Turner's yacht Courageous made it 4 straight to sweep the America's Cup. Britt, what about those Yankee highlights?
All right, and Phyllis, also an update right now. Boston leading Baltimore 6-4 in the 9th. Now the highlights that Phyllis told you about. What a pickup Dave Kingman has turned out to be for the New York Yankees in Tiger Stadium, where hitters flourish. He hit another one today, 2 in 2 days for New York as they rolled up a 6-run lead. And I want to show you a candidate for most valuable player in the American League. Maybe all you've heard about Reggie Jackson is controversy. Well, has he been thumping the last week? 5 home runs in a week, another one today. Yankees hold off the Tigers 6-5 and close in now on another championship in the American League East. And did we have an upset? The New York Giants and the Washington Redskins. Right away, the Giants ambush the Redskins' Billy Kilmer. Watch now as Kilmer attempts to throw a simple pass out on the flat. George Martin, defensive lineman, picks it off. 29 yards for a touchdown. Unfortunately, Martin later was injured. He'll be sidelined 4 weeks. Kilmer now trying desperately to bring the Redskins back into it. And he is helped here by an interference call. It is obvious on Fugit. He had no chance to go for the ball. That set up this touchdown play. Kilmer, 2nd and goal. He shakes Riggins, number 44, loose, and he's got him as the Skins regain the lead. But it is Goldstein, the Giants' rookie quarterback. He missed all of last year because of an injury, who hit Ed Marshall down at the 7-yard line on a deflection by Houston. Then the touchdown pass that tied it at 17. Goldstein to Shirk. And it looked like they were headed for overtime. But on a simple, quick trap, the Redskins fumbled. And it was recovered by the Giants. Then with just 5 seconds left, it was Danilo kicking the field goal, 20 yards, and the Giants had upset the Washington Redskins by a score of 20-17. That wasn't the only upset, Irv Cross.
Well, there were other upsets, Brent. We'll talk about it when we get to that Atlanta-LA game. But right now, the Minnesota Vikings and Dallas Cowboys, of course, are tied at half, or in half with Dallas trailing the Minnesota 7-3. But this is the highlight package from Atlanta and L.A. Joe Namath has completed a pass there to Harold Jackson. The second pass here, his third pass actually of the game, was a touchdown this time to Jackson, a 29-yard score. Haskell Standback scores from the 1-yard line from Atlanta to knot the game. The Rams, by the way, missed an extra point in this game. The final score was 17-6, and Haskell Standback, who had a great preseason, carries 35 yards here down to the L.A. 36-yard line, which sets up another sequence of plays, allowing Scott Hunter to hit Wallace Francis along the sideline inside the 12-yard line. Hunter goes this time on a keeper, scores another touchdown, get a field goal for Atlanta. The final score 17-6, and we'll get to Minnesota-Dallas later, okay?
Irv, one of your favorite running backs, of course, is Walter Payton. He rushed for 161 yards. We're going to show you a highlight package on Walter. We'll be right back as the NFL Today continues on CBS right after these messages from your local stations.
When pirates invade his territory, young Donald Boone springs into action. Watch this great American hero tomorrow night on CBS.
It was Chicago 30, Detroit 20, and what an afternoon for Walter Payton. 131 yards in the first half of this game, wound up with 160 yards. Here is his best run, 75 yards. Now watch for number 89, James Scott, from the left side of your screen. He's going to throw a sensational block, no clip on the play, and Payton got down inside the 10-yard line before he was run out of bounds. Then he came back, was still another long run. Look at that little delay that they run with Payton. Sprinting out to the left, 24 yards. Again, it is Scott out in front throwing the key block. One of two touchdowns by number 34. On a 1st and goal behind Reeve Sorey, he plows to the corner. Now let's take a slow motion look at what the Bears were doing. They held Payton up for a count. Got great blocking from 35, Roland Harper. He whips a linebacker. Payton then slips through the daylight. Counted on James Scott downfield. Here he is going on his own and finally run out of bounds. Now his second and final touchdown. It's a 3-yard run. And watch his nose for the end zone right there. Walter Payton, 161 yards, 23 carries, and 2 touchdowns, and Chicago winner. Irv, now it's time for the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, Dallas and Minnesota, of course, 7-3 at halftime, with Minnesota leading the game at their home ballpark in Bloomington, Minnesota. And everybody expected this to be a tough ball game, and it is. Of course, Fran Tarkenton this time hands off to Sammy White, who breaks off his left guard and moves upfield for a 25-yard gain around the Dallas 25-yard line. Tarkenton this time elects to go through the air and picks out his favorite receiver, Chuck Foreman, who latches onto it. 10 yards, touchdown Minnesota, the only touchdown of the first half. The Cowboys get on the board with a 33-yard field goal from Efren Herrera, 7-3 at halftime.
It was New Orleans and the Green Bay Packers in the Superdome, the site of the Super Bowl game next January on CBS, and probably the single most exciting play of the day. It was a punt return. Harrell of the Packers waiting to haul it back. 80 yards coming up right here. Now watch the block that Wagner is going to throw, number 21, after he turns the corner. It's the final block for Willard Harrell, and it'll lead him into the end zone right there. The Packers opened up a 14-point lead, largely because Lynn Dickey was hitting Ken Payne. Here he is with protection, stepping up and going deep down the left sideline. He wanted Payne again on the touchdown play that put the Packers ahead 21-0 after the extra point, and he got him. But the Saints rallied valiantly in the second half. Archie Manning, number 8, back after that arm operation of a year ago. For Henry Childs, coming out of the right side, he went all the way for the touchdown, made it 24-20. But then the Packers were able to hold on, and Bart Starr had beaten Hank Stram, and again that final score is 24-0. And of course, just a handful of games now still working. St. Louis and Denver, they are scoreless in the second quarter. Of course, the game you're watching, 7-3 Minnesota at the half. Baltimore over Seattle 14-7 at the half. Houston leading the Jets 7-0. And right now, let's go back to Bloomington, Minnesota. Pat Summerall and Tom Brookshire. Pat?
All right, Brent, thank you very much. Tom, I think over the years that we watched the Vikings play, you get sort of the feeling that they're not all that impressive, but they just stifle you.
Well, the first play of the game, the pass play by Tarkenton, really was an interception pass.
Right.
But instead of that, Harris runs into Kyle. Ahmad Rashad gets hurt, but they don't get the INT on the very first play, which would have been deep. And you seem to make the bad play, and the Vikings seem to wait for you not to make your good play all the time. I know it sounds weird.
And by the way, Ahmad Rashad, who was hurt on that first play, has not come back. Our word was that he had a slight concussion, maybe or maybe not be back. But that's a big loss for the Vikings. As far as Dallas is concerned, of course, all of us were waiting for the debut of Tony Dorsett. He's carried the ball, to my recollection, 3 times and has picked up almost no yards.
Well, you know, it's a crazy thing, but Archie Griffin, when he came in, his first game, he had 38 yards on 12 carries. Steve Owens with Detroit had no rushing yardage at all his first game. Cappelletti had 3 yards on 1 carry, and O.J. Simpson only had 35 yards on 10 carries. So I don't know what Gale Sayers did his first game. That might scare me, but we've got to wait for Dorsett to really show us what we've been hearing all about.
There have been a lot of top-flight backs who have not had auspicious beginnings, and so far, it's too early to judge, of course, Dorsett has not done all that well.
I think that Roger Staubach really has not been the smooth quarterback that we're used to seeing. I think he overthrew Billy Joe Dupree down in the end zone, which I think was a touchdown. Tarkington has been fantastic as always, you know.
3rd and 3. 8:50 left in this game. Minnesota leads 7-3. Staubach throws. Caught by Pearson. What a catch. And a touchdown, Dallas.
And Seaman had him covered right on the goal line, and he twisted his body around while he was being wrapped.
Miraculous catch by Preston Pearson.
Tough call. You can see they're having a double on Page, Fitzgerald, and Scott. Now watch this throw, sidearm. I don't believe the catch.
Can't cover him any better. The Cowboys went 33 yards in 6 plays, and now our friend Herrera will try to make it 10-7 Dallas. They jump offside. He won't try quite yet. Flags all over the place. Offside Minnesota.
It's the most dangerous play in football. I know it looks like the point after. I mean, if you run across by accident and hit somebody like Randy White, you know, you can better have double indemnity. You're in trouble.
So Charlie Waters holding. A very important extra point here. Ben Herrera hits it. Dallas 10, Minnesota 7. Time remaining on that scoreboard, 8 minutes, 43 seconds in the 4th period. Pat Haggerty has stopped the clock with 6 seconds to go, and here comes the field goal unit. Efrain Herrera and Drew.
And remember, he's from Guadalajara, went to UCLA, had passport problems and everything else, and he is kicking for Dallas.
He is also kicking very well for Dallas. 78% he was last year, and that's just phenomenal. Six seconds left on the clock. 10-10 to score. Efrain Herrera with Charlie Waters to hold. At the 18, it'll be 28 yards for Herrera. It is not good. He pulled it.
That roar tells you the appreciation for one pulled left.
Herrera from 28 yards.
You can almost see the whole Dallas bench go down. Sudden death overtime.
They'll go 1 quarter. Each team will have 2 timeouts in that 1 quarter. We'll wait 3 minutes before we come back for the sudden death period. And Haggerty will summon the captains to the middle of the field again, and it'll be just starting a new ball game.
And that's an important toss. This is much more important than just opening the football game or the second half.
It certainly is.
Before we go back to Bloomington for sudden death, we would like to straighten out that controversial punt by the Dallas Cowboys. Was there or was there not a fumble? We have taken this angle back here in New York and slowed it down. And you will see that the ball is touched. But Irv Cross contacted Irv Reeder. Now watch, here is Bob Grimm, number 26. He will touch the ball right here, and some folks thought it was a fumble. It is the momentum of the punt that carries it into the end zone, Reeder said. Therefore, it is not a free ball. When it gets into the end zone, it is a touchback. The officials ruled correctly. Let's go back to Pat Summerall and Tom Brookshire.
First down, Cowboys. 9 minutes left in the overtime period. Tom Landry walking along in front of the bench. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game. We'll just slide the whole schedule back. We'll see it all. Staubach looking in the end zone. going to run. Roger Staubach scores for Dallas, and that'll do it. 16-10, the Cowboys prevail.
A playoff game on the very first weekend of the season. I think he wanted to run with it all the way. The end did not get out. Good coverage by Minnesota. Blair comes up, a fast linebacker. You're looking at the man that went to the Naval Academy, taking in himself. Up periscope, looks like he made it.
Took it right over Jeff Seaman to score. So Dallas in a tough struggle over Minnesota, 16-10. I remind you again that 60 Minutes will be seen in its entirety. You'll just slide the whole schedule back. We'll do that so that we could bring you Dallas 16, Minnesota 10 in sudden death. What'd you think?
I'm not going to make 14 of these, I'll tell you that. That's as much tension as you can have for a football game to start out the football season. I've never seen two teams use everybody on their squad to make some kind of an effort to get into the game.
Don't forget the CBS Sports Spectacular, the Trenton 150, next week on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is Pat Summerall then, Fort Tom, Brookshire, saying goodbye from Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. The NFL today is a presentation of CBS Sports.
Yes, Jimmy Hart wears number 17, and he took it from Cleveland Elam. But once there was another number 17, a spindly-legged quarterback, one of the best of his time. And he took more than his fair share of knocks. His name, Dandy Don Meredith. And Mr. Meredith, welcome back.
Coach, it's good to be back, and I've missed you.
I didn't know you cared. Yeah. Don Meredith. It's nice to have him back where he belongs.
Stand by, 15 seconds to air. Stand by, all cameras and videotape.
Ready with your opening graphics. Stand by, Howard. Here we come, Frank. Ready, Don.
Stand by, audio, your opening music, and roll tape.
Take tape.
From Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A capacity crowd anticipated on a warm, humid night for the San Francisco 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ball inside the 15. Quick pitch. Good Harris looking to turn the corner.
Oh, yeah. There was a block by Penny. Came out, took two of them. Oh, boy.
Told you he's great blocking on the run, Dandy.
Well, he got Ralph McGill number 49, and about that time, Anthony Leonard came up. He had both of them. That was pretty good cut by Franco, too, to cut back on the inside, but nice block by Penny.
And we'll watch the touchdown again.
One of the kind of things that you really look for, you'll see that Hardman comes down, number 86. One of the old kind of option plays, but there was Penny coming out. Rocky Blair came out, too, number 20. Good blocking, good cut by Franco. That thing had to score from there. Right.
47-yard attempt. Jarrell has already hit from 50. Oh, and he nailed this one. Oh, that one was not a line drive. Roy Jarrell hits from 47 yards out, and the Steelers move out in front of the 49ers 16-0. Rather 13-0.